President and many allies in Congress support a so-called cap-and-trade proposal, which mandates a cap on greenhouse gas emissions. First off, do you support such a plan? Why or why not? And secondly, do you support the underlying premise that the phenomenon known as global warming is caused by mankind?
I had 10 minutes to answer this one. I've been studying the whole cap-and-trade legislation and the global warming phenomena for quite a few years. I was speaking out against all this nonsense about 2 years ago, back when it wasn't cool or wise to say anything against the establishmentarians out there. I believe, quite frankly, that global warming is the fraud of the century. It's a complete lie. And myself, like all of you in the room, especially the Christians out there, I know we're fed up about being lied to all the time. But these globalists, these liberals in our country, led by Al Gore and Obama, they're lying to us on a daily basis. This whole cap-and-trade formula was set up to impose a communist-style regulatory regime on our nation. This is nothing other than the loss of our freedoms. And very quickly here, you may not know this, but do a Google search on this or Wikipedia. Czech President Václav Klaus, who used to be a communist leader in the Eastern Bloc, he's been speaking out against the global warming fraud, saying that basically this is a communist agenda. And he said basically when the wall came down, all of the communists left the Eastern Bloc and fled over to the environmental movements.
Thank you, Mr. Schiffer. Currently, 56 cents of every tax dollar is used to pay for interest on our national debt. By 2020, 77 cents of every tax dollar will be needed to pay the interest on our national credit card. What, in your opinion, is the best way to deal with this runaway federal deficit spending?
Thank you. Let me put this very quickly in perspective about the federal debt. From George Washington until Ronald Reagan, approximately 1776 to 1980, that's a total of 204 years, America went from 0 to $1 trillion in federal debt. In just 22 years, from 1980 to 2002, the U.S. debt grew a sixfold to $6 trillion. Over the past 7 years, it doubled from $6 trillion to $12 trillion, and in one more year, under Obama, the 2010 budget, it will grow another $2 trillion to $14 trillion. The Congressional Budget Office expects $1 trillion or more dollar deficits for perhaps a decade or more. Folks, in order to resolve this, we need to shut down a lot of the government agencies, bringing back, following the 10th Amendment movement, the state sovereignty movement, shut down the EPA, the Department of Labor, and other agencies that are wasting our federal dollars. And we need to hold the Federal Reserve to accountability. That's another story, but it's a part of this answer. And also the very fact that we're losing millions of jobs a year from these trade deals like GATT and NAFTA. We need to do something to address all of this.
Thank you very much. What is your opinion concerning the process that Congress is considering to use in order to pass the health care bill?
I think it's despicable, deplorable, obscene. You're talking about the slaughter proposal, I would assume. And I think basically the slaughter proposal, if we start going down this road of using these means to cram through legislation that the American people do not approve, do not want, it shows they don't get it, and they're going to basically slaughter the Constitution with this. I know this is a method that's been used over the years, but folks, the media's not telling you this. Keep it in perspective here. This type of proposal to cram through legislation has only been used in American history for minor pieces of legislation, amendments to different bills. Never, ever has such a scheme been used to cram through a proposal as massive and unconstitutional as Obamacare. So I'm definitely opposed to this. We need to be speaking out, calling our congressmen and women. I understand, unfortunately, that the vote's going to be taken this weekend, maybe on Sunday. We need to do everything in our power, including pray, to stop this massive federal takeover of over 1/6 of the federal budget. And also, I'll conclude by with saying this. Remember when Ronald Reagan used to refer to the Soviets, and he said that they would use methods like this, that they reserve unto themselves the right to lie, to cheat, to steal. You can use those same traits for the Democratic leaders in the House today. They reserve unto themselves the right to do anything they damn well please to us, to lie, to cheat, to steal. And you know, we've got to stop this, or our country is in dire shape, big trouble.
Thank you very much. Administration has taken a different approach to the war on terror from the Bush administration. President Obama has stated that he wants terrorists to be tried in civilian courts where they are Mirandized shortly after arrest, as in the case of the Christmas Day bomber. Do you support President Obama's position on civilian courts for terrorists, or do you believe that they should be tried in military tribunals?
Over the years, the past 5 years to be specific, I've had the pleasure of working with different defense and foreign policy think tanks down in Washington, D.C., and I've also taken part in putting together and being a leader in these symposiums that have been put together around the country exposing the dangers of radical Islam and terrorism. I believe that unfortunately, under President Obama, the war on terror has been suspended, has been put on hold, and I believe that he is gutting our defenses and our military, and we are left wide open to attack. Of course, I'm against the fact that Obama wants to use civilian courts to try these terrorists. These are bloodthirsty barbarians who want nothing more than to destroy our way of life over here. Give you an example. Friends of mine, I have a lieutenant colonel friend, some others, a retired general who used to work at Gitmo, and they said that a large percentage of the Gitmo detainees that have been released under Obama have been found months later back on the battlefields in Afghanistan, killing our troops. This is the kind of policy that we cannot afford to continue as a nation.
Thank you very much. Who is your favorite founding father and why?
That's a difficult question. I like them all, and I believe before I stipulate who my favorite founding father was or is, I think that we need far more congressmen and U.S. senators in Washington, D.C. Who exude and share the same values of our founding fathers. Even just 1% of their courage and wisdom and strength. That's what we need. We need more George Washingtons, John Adams, Thomas Jeffersons, and the like, and Patrick Henry. I would say Patrick Henry is my favorite as far as the founding fathers. A close second would be President George Washington. But I like the fact that Patrick Henry, by the way, he was a favorite of John Adams and George Washington always. He was the guy that would warm up the crowd, he had a lot of wisdom about what the British were doing, and it was Patrick Henry's leadership when he gave his famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech that roused up and mobilized a lot of people that were sitting on the fence at the time as to whether or not we should be going against the British. So it would be Patrick Henry.
Now we're going to have an opportunity for each candidate to offer a 90-second closing statement.
Thank you. I appreciate the fact that being invited to this forum. And let me conclude by saying that Matt Miller, in his concluding statement, said something that I think most people in the room would agree with, that, you know, from the sound of things, we sound alike almost, to varying degrees. And that may be true. We may vote about the same way in Washington, D.C. I don't know. I know how I'll vote, but I don't know how Matt or Jim or Mr. Smith would vote. But I'll tell you this much. There is one big glaring difference between the four of us, and that is me. In Washington, D.C., I've spent 20 years lobbying and sacrificing for the cause. And without going into great detail, yes, we may, to a certain degree or another, vote about the same down there. I want you to know that I'm not just a Republican. I'm a patriot first, I'm a Christian first, and I'm a constitutionalist. So I will vote the right way when it comes to reining in the strength and power of the federal government. I'm pro-life. I've already proved that. I've sacrificed for the cause. So in me, you see a candidate who has already sacrificed, who has given his life to preserve a constitution, fighting against government regulators, fighting for the life of the unborn. And if I can do that as just a regular citizen, I can guarantee you that when in Washington, D.C., if you elect me, I will do my job and sacrifice for our country even more than ever. Thank you.